The shackled gift captain. Elias stood tall under the bright alien sun. He wore his dusty uniform with pride, medals pinned on his chest. All around him, the alien crowd cheered in their strange, echoing language. He had just won a major battle that saved thousands, not just humans but aliens too. The Empire was grateful. The Emperor himself had called Elias to the center of the ceremony. Elias expected a medal, maybe a new ship, but what he saw instead made his smile fade. Two alien guards stepped forward, dragging someone behind them. It was a girl. She stumbled on weak legs. Her arms were chained, her ankles too. Her skin was pale, almost silver blue, covered in bruises and dirt. Her long hair was tangled and dry, hanging like a curtain over her face. A thick metal collar was around her neck, and her thin dress was torn in many places. She didn't look up. The guards pushed her to the ground in front of Elias. The Emperor raised his voice proudly. "For your bravery, we give you a special reward, one of the last of her kind, a rare and obedient creature, yours to command." The crowd clapped loudly. Some aliens even whistled. Elias looked down at the girl. She was kneeling with her head, low, silent like a statue. Her chest moved slowly, too slowly. She looked like she hadn't eaten in days. He didn't move. He didn't smile. The Emperor smiled wider. "She is yours now, human. Use her, keep her, do as you wish." Elias's jaw tightened. He slowly walked toward the girl. The guard stepped back. The girl flinched when his boot stopped in front of her. She raised her arms as if expecting a slap, but the slap never came. Elias knelt. The crowd went silent. He gently reached for her wrists. She flinched again, closing her eyes tight, her whole body shaking. But Elias didn't hurt her. Instead, he pulled a small tool from his belt and worked on her chains. One by one, they clicked open. The collar, too. She opened her eyes, huge, glowing purple eyes, full of shock, full of fear. "You're not a reward," Elias said softly. "You're a person." She stared at him like she didn't understand. He stood and looked at the Emperor. "I didn't fight for this." The Emperor frowned. "She's yours. She's property now. Take her and go." Elias turned to the girl. She was still on the ground, too afraid to move. He held out his hand. She didn't take it. So, slowly and gently, he helped her to her feet. She was weak. She couldn't stand long without support, so he let her lean on him. She weighed almost nothing. The crowd watched in silence. Without another word, Elias walked away, holding the broken chains in one hand, and her in the other. Back on his small ship, Elias wrapped her in a blanket and gave her a cup of warm broth. She didn't drink at first. She just sat quietly, staring at the walls. He didn't ask questions, he just sat nearby and waited. An hour passed, then 2. Suddenly, her small voice broke the silence. "What do you want from me?" she asked, her voice hoarse and dry. Elias looked up. Nothing. She stared at him in confusion. "You didn't buy me?" "I didn't ask for you. I don't want a slave," he said. "I want you to be free." She blinked like the word free had no meaning. "Do you have a name?" he asked gently. She looked down. Her hands gripped the blanket tighter. "It was taken." Elias nodded. "Then you'll choose a new one, when you're ready." She looked at him again. A tear rolled down her cheek. She quickly wiped it away, ashamed. Elias stood up slowly and walked to the door. "Rest. You're safe here. No one will touch you again. I promise." As he left the room, she looked down at her wrists. The chains were gone, but the bruises remained. She whispered to herself, barely believing it. Safe. The girl who forgot her name. For 2 days, the alien girl barely spoke. She sat in the corner of Elias's small ship, wrapped in the same blanket he had given her. She didn't eat much. She didn't ask for anything. Every time Elias entered the room, she became quiet, eyes wide, like she was waiting to be punished. But Elias never raised his voice. He never touched her, unless it was to help her. He always spoke gently, like she mattered. Still, the girl couldn't believe. On the third morning, Elias walked in with a small tray, warm soup, soft bread, and some fresh water. She didn't look at him. But when he placed the tray in front of her and turned to leave, she whispered something. He froze. He turned back. "Did you say something?" She kept her eyes on the floor. Then, slowly, she repeated it. Just one word in her alien language. Soft. Broken. Elias didn't understand it. But her voice cracked like she hadn't used it in years. He walked over and sat on the floor a few feet away. "That word," he said gently. "What does it mean?" She didn't answer. He tapped a small translation device on his wrist. "Can you say it again?" She hesitated, then said it, this time a little louder. The device blinked and spoke. "Property." Elias's chest tightened. He looked at her carefully. "That's what they called you?" he asked. She nodded once. He waited a moment, then said, "What did your parents call you, before all this?" She blinked, then frowned. Her lips moved slightly. Her breathing changed. And for the first time, she looked scared for a different reason. I don't remember." Later that night, Elias sat alone in the ship's small cockpit, staring out at the stars. The ship floated in orbit, quiet and peaceful, but his mind was not. How could someone forget their own name? He heard soft footsteps behind him. Turning, slowly he saw her standing there. She looked different, still fragile, but not as frozen as before. "Can I sit?" she asked quietly. Elias nodded, surprised. She sat beside him. Her hands were still clenched in her lap. He didn't push her to talk. Instead, he simply asked, "Do you want a new name?" She hesitated. "Am I allowed?" "You're allowed to choose anything," he said. "You're free now." She looked out the window. Then, "Can you help me choose?" Elias smiled a little. "Of course." They looked at the stars together. "What about something from your language?" he asked. "Maybe something that means hope or freedom?" She closed her eyes for a moment, thinking hard. "Lyra," she whispered. "What does it mean?" She gave a small smile, just a little. "It was a word in our stories. It meant light, a small light, in a dark world." Elias repeated it softly. "Lyra." She looked at him. "Do you like it?" "I think it suits you." The next day, Lyra asked for clothes, not new ones, just something clean. Elias found a simple outfit and left it outside her room. When she came out wearing it, she looked different, not like a slave, not like a lost thing. She looked like someone slowly stepping into the world again. Elias offered her a spoon and bowl. "Ready to try breakfast properly?" Lyra gave a slow nod. She ate slowly, but didn't stop. Every bite made her eyes shine more. Elias chuckled. "You're getting stronger." "I feel strange," she said. "Strange?" Lyra paused, then said, "Like, I'm alive again." That night she stood outside his door. Her voice was quiet but firm. "Captain Elias?" He looked up from his chair. "Yes, thank you. For giving me a name again. You chose it yourself. I wouldn't have, if you hadn't given me the chance." She turned to walk away, but then stopped and asked softly, "Can I call you something?" He raised an eyebrow. "Like, what?" She hesitated, then whispered, "Friend." Elias smiled warmly. "Yes, Lyra, I'd be honored." But even as Lyra started to feel human again, something dark waited outside. Someone had noticed that she was gone, and they wanted her back. The pain beneath her skin, Lyra had begun to smile. She still moved slowly. She still spoke in whispers. But each day she walked more, ate more, asked more. Elias noticed the difference in her eyes. They weren't always full of fear now. Sometimes, they even looked curious. But one night something changed. It was after dinner. The ship was quiet. Elias was doing small repairs in the back when he heard something fall. He rushed to the hallway. Lyra was on the floor, curled up, arms tight around her chest. Her face was pale. Her whole body was shaking. "Lyra!" Elias knelt beside her. "What's wrong? Are you in pain?" She didn't answer. Her lips were tight, her eyes full of panic. "Did something hurt you?" he asked, his voice calm. She nodded slowly. "Where?" She pressed her hand to the back of her neck. Elias lifted her gently and carried her to the medbed. Her body was cold. She didn't resist. She just trembled, eyes shut tight. The medical scanner hummed softly as it moved over her body. Elias watched the screen, and what he saw made his heart drop. There were injuries inside her. Hidden, old fractures, scarred tissue, burn marks, and something else. Tracker implant, the scanner confirmed. Active, location signal broadcasting. Elias stared at the blinking red dot on the screen. They were still tracking her. He took a deep breath and looked down at her. "Lyra, they put something in you." She opened her eyes slowly. I didn't know. I just felt burning sometimes." "It's a tracking chip," Elias said. "That's why your pain kept coming back, and they might know where you are." Tears gathered in her eyes. "I didn't mean to bring danger. I didn't. Though no." "Shh." Elias placed a hand on her shoulder. "It's not your fault." Without wasting time, Elias prepared for minor surgery. The chip wasn't deeply embedded, but it was close to a nerve. Removing it required precision and trust. "I need to take it out," he said. "It'll hurt a little. But then, you'll finally be free. No one will find you again." She looked at him, scared, but trusting. "Do it," she whispered. The small laser tool buzzed. Lyra winced, but stayed still. Elias worked fast. His hands were steady. After a few long minutes, the tiny device popped out, a black blinking crystal smaller than a fingernail. He dropped it into a sealed container and crushed it instantly. The tracker went dead. Later, Lyra rested on the med bed, bandaged and breathing easier. Elias sat beside her, wiping sweat from his brow. She looked at him. "It's gone?" He nodded. "You're finally invisible to them." She exhaled deeply. And then something unexpected happened. She cried. Not from pain, but from release. "I thought I'd never be more than a number," she whispered. "They didn't let us cry, didn't let us speak. I thought if I forgot my name, I'd forget the pain too." Elias didn't say anything. He just sat beside her quietly. Lyra turned to him. "But you saw me. You heard me. Even when I didn't speak." "You're not a number," he said. "You never were." That night, Lyra slept peacefully for the first time in years, but Elias stayed awake, watching the stars outside. If someone had been tracking her, they might already be coming, and if they tried to take her again, he'd be ready. Learning to smile, Elias found her sitting in the small garden pod the next morning. Lyra had discovered the plants, tiny herbs in metal pots, growing under warm, artificial light. She knelt beside them, touching the soft green leaves like they were treasures. He stood in the doorway, watching quietly. She didn't hear him come in. She was humming. Not a song, just a soft sound. A melody without words. It was the first time he'd seen her look peaceful. "Morning," he said gently. Lyra turned quickly, startled. But when she saw it was him, her shoulders relaxed. "I didn't mean to touch anything," she said. "It's okay," Elias replied. "They like being touched." She blinked. "Plants? Feel?" He nodded with a soft smile. Not like we do, but yet they respond to care, like people. Lyra looked down at the plant she was holding, a small flower with pale yellow petals. I never saw a flower before, she whispered. Where I was, nothing grew, not even hope. Elias sat beside her. Then we'll grow it together. That day, Lyra stayed in the garden pod for hours. She watered the plants, talked to them. She asked Elias questions, so many questions. What is cinnamon? Why do your clothes have pockets? Why does your ship talk sometimes? Each time, Elias answered with patience. He told her stories about Earth, about snow and rain and hot chocolate. At one point, while listening, she tilted her head and frowned. You talk funny, she said. He raised an eyebrow. Funny? Your face moves a lot when you talk, like this. She tried to copy his expression. Wide eyes, a crooked grin. He chuckled. Are you making fun of me? She blinked. No. I think I like it. And then, without warning, she smiled. A real, awkward, crooked smile. Elias blinked in surprise. It was the first time he saw her do it. Later, while cleaning the control panel, Elias dropped a small toolbox. It hit his foot. He cursed under his breath and hopped on one leg, wobbling around like a fool. Behind him, Lyra laughed. It wasn't loud, but it was clear. He turned, shocked. She quickly covered her mouth. Sorry, that wasn't nice, but Elias only laughed with her. No, that was perfect. She slowly lowered her hand. Her eyes sparkled. It felt strange, but nice. It's called laughing, Elias said, sitting on a crate nearby. You should do it more. She looked down at her hands. I never knew I could. That evening, Elias gave her something, a folded cloth bundle. What's this? She asked. Open it. She carefully untied the string and unfolded the soft fabric. Inside was a simple dress, earthy brown, stitched by hand with soft sleeves and a loose fit. Her fingers trembled as she touched it. This is for me? He nodded. You deserve to wear something you chose, not something they forced on you. She looked up. Why are you always kind to me? He thought for a moment, then said, because someone should have been, a long time ago. She didn't speak after that, just quietly hugged the dress to her chest and walked to her room. When she came back later wearing it, Elias looked up and smiled. You look. She stopped him with a raised hand and said, not property, not a prize, just Lyra. He nodded. Just Lyra. That night she sat beside him in the quiet cockpit. The stars outside blinked like gentle candles. Captain Elias? She asked softly. I don't feel broken anymore. He turned to her. You were never broken. She smiled again. Not forced, not afraid. This time it stayed on her face. But far across the system, a dark ship moved silently through space. Its scanners beeped. It had lost the signal weeks ago, but now it had found a trace. Lyra's past was not done chasing her, and this time it would come with fire. They came to take her back. The first sign was silence. The ship's alarms didn't scream. The sensors didn't blink. But Elias felt it, a cold feeling in his chest, like the quiet before a storm. He walked to the control panel and checked the radar. There, it was, a small black dot moving fast toward them. No ID, no signal, just a ship, and it was coming straight for them. In the garden pod, Lyra gently held a new flower in her hands. She had planted it days ago. Now it had bloomed, a soft pink with a golden center. She smiled, whispering to it like a friend. That's when the lights flickered. Her body froze. The warmth in her chest vanished. She knew that flicker, that silence, that cold. She dropped the flower and ran. Elias met her halfway in the hallway. His face was calm, but his eyes sharp. "They found me," she said, out of breath. He nodded. "I think so. A silent ship is coming. No flag, no response." Her hands trembled. I'll go," she said. "I'll leave before they hurt you." Elias stepped forward and grabbed her shoulders. Not roughly, but firmly. "You're not going anywhere," he said. "This is your home too now. But they'll take me. They'll try." Outside, the black ship hovered in the distance. No weapons showed. No message came. Just silence. Then, without warning, something slammed into Elias's ship. A jolt. A loud hiss. They had docked. Elias locked every door, every system. He handed Lyra a small device. "Stay hidden. Use this to call me if anything happens." She stared at him. "Why are you doing this? You could leave. You could save yourself." He looked her in the eyes. "You are the one I'm saving." In the loading bay, metal groaned as the emergency doors slid open. 3 figures stepped in, tall, cold, wearing black armor. The leader held a scan pad. "Return the property. We know she's here." Elias stepped forward. "She's not property. She's a person, and she's not going anywhere with you." The armored figure laughed. "You think you can stop us?" Elias held up a device. I erased her tracker, wiped her code. "She doesn't exist to you anymore." The second figure hissed. "She belongs to the throne." "No," Elias said. "She belongs to herself." They rushed him, but Elias was ready. He slammed the emergency switch. Gravity flickered. He floated for half a second, kicked off the wall, and tackled the first guard. They crashed into a crate. The second pulled a shock rod. Elias ducked, grabbed a tool from his belt, slammed it against the rod. Sparks flew, but he was outnumbered. They forced him back, blow after blow, until he hit the floor. Lyra heard it. Crash. The shouting. Her heart pounded. She clutched the call button device. Her thumb hovered. Then she dropped it. She ran. Elias gasped as the leader stood over him. "Foolish human. You risked everything for a broken thing." But before he could strike, Lyra's voice echoed from the doorway. "I'm not broken." They all turned. There she stood, no chains, no fear, wearing her earth-colored dress, eyes burning with fire. "I chose to stay," she shouted. "I chose him." One guard lunged toward her. Too late. Elias pulled the guard's weapon and fired, a flash of light. The attacker fell. Lyra rushed to Elias and helped him up. He looked at her, bruised but smiling. "Nice timing," she smiled back. "You said to call you if something happened. You ran instead. I made a choice." Together they stood as the other guards backed toward the exit. The leader hissed, "This is not over. The throne will remember this." Elias raised the weapon. "Good. So will we." As the enemy ship pulled away, Lyra leaned against Elias, breathless. She looked around at the mess, then said softly, "I don't want to run anymore." Elias held her close. "Then, we fight together." She chose to stay. The ship was quiet again. Broken crates lay scattered. Burn marks covered the floor. The scent of smoke still lingered in the air, but Elias and Lyra were safe, and together. Elias patched his bruises in the med bay. A cut over his eyebrow was still bleeding. He wiped it away and sat down, tired but calm. Lyra stood nearby, watching him closely. She hadn't spoken since the attackers left. He finally broke the silence. "You saved me, you know." She blinked. "I ran in like a fool." Elias shook his head. "You chose courage over fear. That's never foolish." She looked down. Her fingers twisted the edge of her dress nervously. "I've never made choices before," she said. "They always decided everything. What I wore, what I ate, if I could speak, if I could sleep." Elias listened quietly. "They even took my name," she continued. "But you didn't just give me freedom. You gave me The power to choose. He stood and walked to her. Then choose now, he said softly. No pressure, no fear. Lyra looked up. What do I choose? Anything, Elias said. You can leave and start a new life, or stay here with me. You're free, Lyra. It's your future. She stared at him. Her throat moved like she was trying to swallow emotion. And then she whispered, I want to stay. A week passed. Lyra helped fix the broken systems. She learned how to fly short routes. She even tried to cook, burning half the food, but laughing the whole time. Elias smiled more now, not just because she was healing, but because he was too. They had become something more than strangers, more than friends. One quiet night, they sat outside the ship under a starlit sky. The planet below was peaceful, full of glowing plants and gentle winds. Lyra sat on a blanket, legs folded, a cup of warm tea in her hand. She looked different now. Her hair was clean. Her face had color again. Her back stood straight, but her eyes, they still held a question. Elias noticed. What is it? He asked. She hesitated, then said, If I stay here, what am I to you? He blinked. You're Lyra. I mean, who am I in your life? He didn't answer right away. Then he placed his cup down. He turned to face her completely and asked, Can I tell you the truth? She nodded. He took a deep breath. I don't see you as someone I rescued, he said. I see you as someone who rescued me. Lyra looked surprised. You weren't a slave. No, he said. But I was alone. I went on mission after mission, saved lives, lost friends. I stopped believing I'd find something to live for. Until you. Her eyes welled with tears. I don't know how to be anything else. You don't have to be anything, Elias said. You just have to be yourself. Lyra looked down, then looked up again. What if I want to be more? He paused. More? He asked carefully. She nodded. More than a guest. More than just someone who stays. Elias's heart beat louder in his chest. He leaned forward and asked in a soft voice, Lyra, would you ever want to be my wife? She froze, her breath caught, and then, slowly, she smiled. A real smile, one full of light. I never thought I'd hear those words in my life, she whispered. But yes, I would. No ceremony, no crowd, just stars, silence, and two people choosing each other. Not out of power, not out of fear, but love. From slave to wife, there were no royal halls, no trumpets, no audience, only a quiet clearing on a peaceful moon, a blanket under the stars, and two hearts that had found each other. Lyra stood in front of a mirror in Elias's ship. She wore a soft white dress, simple, stitched by her own hands with a thin ribbon at her waist. Her silver blue skin glowed under the soft cabin light. Her eyes, no longer afraid. She looked at her reflection, not as a prisoner, not as a slave, not even as a survivor, but as a woman, a free one, a loved one. Elias waited outside the ship. He had trimmed his beard, brushed his old captain's jacket, and polished his boots. He held a small object in his hand, a handmade ring, crafted from melted ship scrap and the crystal from Lyra's destroyed tracker. The very thing that once enslaved her now became a symbol of her freedom. He looked up at the stars. He smiled. She's late, he joked to himself. Then he heard footsteps behind him. He turned, and everything went still. There she was, Lyra, smiling, standing tall, her eyes soft, her voice steady. You waited, she said. I always will, Elias replied. They stood in silence for a moment, just looking at each other. Then Elias took her hands. I don't have fancy words, he said. I only have this. I love you. I choose you. And I will spend every day making sure you never feel alone again. Lyra's eyes filled with tears, but she smiled through them. She spoke quietly. You gave me a name when I had none. You gave me warmth when I was frozen. You gave me choice when I was chained. But more than anything, you gave me love. I choose you, Elias. Forever. He placed the ring on her finger. It didn't sparkle. It didn't shine. But to them, it was brighter than any star. He leaned in. She met him halfway, and for the first time, not out of fear, not out of need, but out of pure joy, they kissed. Later that night, they sat by a soft fire. The ship lights were dim. The moon's air was fresh and warm. Lyra rested her head on Elias's shoulder. He gently played with her fingers. You're not my past anymore, she whispered. What do you mean? I used to think I was only made of pain and chains. But now I know I'm made of more. He looked at her with pride. You've always been more. Suddenly, the ship's AI spoke softly. Captain Elias, incoming message. Elias raised an eyebrow. From who? The screen blinked. The message read, To the human who defied our throne. We demand return of stolen property. You have 1 cycle to comply. Lyra stood slowly. Her expression didn't change. She didn't shake. She didn't panic. Instead, she walked to the screen and typed back. I am not property. I am Lyra Elias. Come if you must. But I will never kneel again. She hit send, then turned to Elias and said, Let them come. Elias stood beside her, hand in hers. They won't take my wife. Together they looked out at the galaxy. They knew danger might return, but now they faced it as one. A captain and a former slave, a warrior and a survivor, a husband and a wife, and, in the great silence of space, love echoed louder than chains.